All right, Phil, over to you.
Okay, let me just take that screen on. I've got it. So, welcome to Tai Chi on a Monday morning. I hope everyone is well. It is absolutely scorching in Brisbane today. It is 26 degrees at 8 a.m. Before I start the Tai Chi today, I'd like to mention that on Thursday, there's a change in the schedule. If anyone's planning to join us on Thursday, it will be starting at 12:30 Queensland time. So that will be 1:30 in New South Wales or Victoria, or 3 hours before that. So that'll be 9:30 if we're in Western Australia. So I'll just give that a little plug each time before we start. If it is warm where you are, make sure that you're drinking plenty of water. I hope everybody is doing well today and that we are ready to do a little bit of Tai Chi. So I will go through what I normally go through. We can do this seated or standing. If we are doing it seated, we want to be in a nice high back chair if we can, and make sure that we have padding underneath the tailbone and the glute muscles. There's a fair bit of training to do today. So make sure that you're looking after yourself, and we've got some padding on that seat. If we are seated, just want you to make sure that you're sitting forward if you can. If you need to lean against the back of the chair, that's okay. But the ideal idea is to lean forward or to actually move forward in the chair, have those feet securely on the ground and make sure that core is engaged. If we are standing, we want that left foot at 11 o'clock and that right foot at about 1 o'clock. And let's have a little play with that. Put my feet in my little blue Tai Chi boxes. Just make sure those feet are where we want them to be, with the feet about a hip width apart. I am a Tai Chi instructor and not a doctor, so any medical advice, make sure that you stick with that medical advice. We can modify movements. If we're not feeling it today, we can just lift a heel. We can just lift some toes. We can take much smaller steps than I take. Feel free to just modify that. We work at a 70% principle, and that 70% is your 70%, not my 70%. So when we move, and we are trying to make a song space in the joints. It's a Tai Chi principle called song space, where we actually get the joints to open up and move more freely. As a result of that, the muscles over time will adapt to that, and again, will move more freely. So if we do never, ever in Tai Chi do we go at 100% of our, if we try and do that, then we're just going to take ourselves off balance. And balance is really where we're at. And we're really trying to improve our balance. We will try, especially if we are standing, to lower and to bend our knees a little bit. And if we can't do that, we will just make sure that we soften those knees, okay? Make sure the knees are nice and soft. And we will revisit that over the training period that we have, and make sure that we're not locking out those knees. When we bend our knees and we soften those knees, our center of gravity is just below the belly button there. When we lock those knees out, or if we walk with straight legs, we're always leaning forwards, and our center of gravity comes up to about our chest, which is why Tai Chi is so effective at falls prevention. So we want to try and sink that chi down and lower a little bit if we can. I know it takes time to build that strength in the legs, but that's where we're going. We're going to do some breathing first, and we're going to do breathing throughout today's and every exercise situation that we do. It's called diaphragmatic breathing or Dantian breathing, which Dantian is a region just below the belly button. So when we take those breaths, I know it's not fashionable, but we want to take a nice deep breath and go and expand that belly and try and push the air down into the belly and stretch the diaphragm. And then we're going to squeeze our bum cheeks together, squeeze those glutes together and let that air out. So we can breathe in through the nose or the mouth, but we always let that air out through the mouth. I tend to be an in through the nose kind of guy, but make it your own. But make sure those breaths are also at 70%, okay? Otherwise, we hyperventilate, and I don't want anybody hyperventilating. I want everybody to be in good shape for tomorrow and the rest of the week. So let's just get those knees moving a little bit. We'll have a little twist on those ankles before we start. If we need the support of something, the back of the chair can be really useful, or a wall. I don't have a wall in range, but walls can be useful. If we don't like lifting the foot, we can always just turn the knee round in circles with our ball of our foot, or the ball of the foot on the floor. And just make those little circles like that. That's all activating the leg and the hip and not compromising our balance. So a little shake out. And we will set at 11 o'clock left, 1 o'clock right. Make sure the core is engaged if we're seated. And let's take a nice deep breath in. And push that air out. Monday morning oxygen. And push that air out. And one more. And push that air out. Again, let's have that little shake. Let's have that little move around. Get those ankles moving. Like I say, if you don't like lifting those ankles, keep the toes on the floor. Keep the circles small if we need to. There is no rush in Tai Chi. It's about building up our strength and our ability and our confidence as much as anything over a period of time, training regularly. Okay, I'll stand slightly side on so that we can see where we're going, and I'll talk through the first one really carefully so we all know where we are. We're going to start in that start position, 11 o'clock left, 1 o'clock right. If we're seated, core engaged. We're going to have our hands on our thighs, and we're going to lift those hands up to shoulder height with the palms facing to the floor. Then we're going to turn those palms in towards the face and the neck. And we're going to move those palms in towards the body, tucking the chin back slightly, a little stretch in the back of the neck. Before they touch, we're going to turn those hands round, and we're going to push those palms away from us until just before those elbows lock out. We keep the elbows soft, then we're going to look at those thumbs, and then we're going to watch those thumbs come down, rolling just the head forward until we get to 70% of what we can do, or our chin is on our chest and our hand is on our thighs. Let's do that again. We're going to take a breath in as we bring those hands up, nice and slow. And we're going to make room by breathing out as those hands come towards. Don't forget to tuck that chin. Then we're going to push those hands out, but don't let those elbows lock out. And then we're going to watch those thumbs come down, rolling that head forward, chin on chest. So breathing in as we come up, out as we come towards. In as we push those hands away. And always breathing out in Tai Chi with a downward stroke to earth. So let's practice. In and up. Out and in. In and out. And breathing out on that downward stroke to earth. Let's do a couple more. Nice breath in. And a nice breath out. Nice breath in. Don't lock those elbows out. Don't push those hands out too far. Bring those hands down. Roll that head forward. One more. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Lock onto those thumbs. Almost there. Downward stroke to earth. Touch those thighs. Let's take 3 breaths to 70%. Breathing in, pushing that air out. In, a little bend in those knees as we breathe out if we can. Last one. And let's have a shake. Excellent work. Moving those ankles about in whichever way is comfortable. I will be drinking water regularly because it is already hot as you like. Never hurts to stay hydrated. Excellent work. Just make sure my water bottle is safe there. Okay, so we are loosening up the neck at the moment. Everything we do, we're going to work down the body, and we're just going to loosen up every bit of the body in a 6-stage process of the first set of Tai Chi. So we've done the first neck exercise, and this is also a neck exercise. So before we start, make sure that we're looking after our necks. Make sure our 70% is 70% of what we can do, because we don't want our necks to get sore. We want that range of movement to increase slowly and gently. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring those hands up to shoulder height again. So out like that, but with the elbows nice and soft. Then we're going to drop a hand, either hand, doesn't matter, left or right, whatever is easiest to follow. And then whichever hand we have left, we are going to look into that palm, and we are going to imagine a stick from that palm to our chin. And what we're going to do is we're going to move that palm. This is my left palm. So we're going to move that palm with the direction of the thumb round to the side of the body and bring the head round with it, like that stick is attached to the chin, to the palm, to 70% of what is comfortable. And then we're going to bring that hand back to center. We're going to pick up the hand that we dropped and we're going to brush those two hands together in front, but they don't touch. Then we're going to drop that hand down, look into the other palm and bring that round to 70% of what is comfortable. When we get there, remember it's next, so be gentle. Brush those hands together in front, but they don't touch. If they do, it's okay. And we're just going to repeat this movement. And we should notice each time we get round to our 70%, brush those hands together in front, that our 70% envelope increases. That range of movement just starts to increase slightly. Come back to center, brush those hands together, but they don't touch. And we come round to 70%. My range of movement is certainly increasing. Brush those hands together in front, but they don't touch. And round. Let's do one more each side. Bring that hand in front. Brush those hands together, but they don't touch. Just check those knees haven't locked out. Try and keep those knees soft. One more. Brush those hands together, but they don't touch. And we're just going to bring that head round to 70%. When we get there, we are going to move that hand towards the face a little. Then we're going to turn that palm out. I want you to show me your palms. And then drop that hand down to the thighs. Both hands touch thighs. And we'll take those 3 70% breaths. So breath in and out. In and out. One more. And push that air out. Shake it out. Move those feet around on the balls of the feet. If we have any balance issues, we can turn those feet. Let's turn those feet, maybe lift the knee. And that's our necks. Our neck should be freed up a little now, should be moving around a little bit better. We are going to drop down now to our shoulders and we're going to do a couple of shoulder exercises. So we're going to stay in the same positions. If we're seated, we're going to sit nice and forward in that chair if we can. Make sure that those core muscles are engaged. If we're standing, I want that left foot at 11 o'clock and the right foot at 1 o'clock. And we'll engage the core a little as well. Now, I make little circles on my thighs as I do this exercise just to regulate the movement and make sure the movements are nice and regular. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick up those shoulders from behind. We're going to lift them up towards the ears and we're going to drop those shoulders down in front. So pick them up towards the ears and roll them down. We're not trying to touch the ears. We're just picking both the shoulders up evenly if we can. Roll them forwards and drop them down. So we're trying to make those regular circles with the shoulders because what we're going for is that song space. Now, if we've been doing this a while with me, what we're looking for is for that area in the armpit to actually have space. Lift those elbows just out a little bit and we make that song space in the armpit. That can be a little challenging. When I first heard that, when my master first told me that, I said, well, just plain can't do that. But it's funny. The more you practice, the better you get at something. So we lift up those shoulders, make that space if we can, and roll them forwards. Let's do one more in this direction. Pick them up and roll them forwards. Then we'll just have a little move from side to side. Just have that little shake. And then we're going to do the opposite. We're going to do the same movement, but in the opposite direction. So we're going to pick those shoulders up forwards, up towards the ears, and roll them back. Pick them up and roll those shoulders back. So if you spend a lot of time in front of computers, then this is a really nice exercise A lot of people spend a lot of time in front of computer screens and freeing up the rotator cuffs and getting those shoulder blades to float. Really, really beautiful. Really good to do once an hour, this exercise, if you are in front of computers a lot. Let's do one more this way. Pick them up, roll them back, even them up a little bit, give them a little shake. Then one of my favorite movements, we'll open those hands underneath the belly button. So the palms are facing up to the sky or the ceiling, depending on where we are, but below the belly button. And then we're going to gather up either side, palms still facing up as we come up to about head height. Then we're going to turn those palms down towards the floor in front of the face. And drop those hands down, keeping those elbows soft and slightly bent as we gather up. Arms out, palms down as that rain falls down. So my usual situation is just keep those elbows soft, keep those knees soft if we can, a little bent at the bottom as we open and gather up the sides to about head height or whatever you can manage, and we let that rain fall down. Open them up, gather up, breathing in as we come up on a gather and out as we let that rain fall down. Open, gather up, and let that rain fall down. One more, gathering up, and let that rain fall down. Bring those hands, touch the thighs. Let's take those beautiful breaths in and out. Feed the body the oxygen it needs in and let that old air go. Through the mouth on the way out. Nice deep breath in and out. Shake it out. Again, with those feet on the floor, if we don't like to lift, if we have any balance problems, always remember the back of the chair or the wall is a really good place to be. No rush. We're just trying to get those legs opened up. If you're a hip opener like me, maybe you'd like to open a hip. If you want to make a smaller hip opener, like some people do, that's good. Your 70% is your 70%. Excellent work. So we've done the neck and we've done the shoulders. Now what we're going to try and do is straighten and lengthen the spine a little. I have my red ball handy here. You don't actually need a ball. This is just for demonstration purposes, okay? So we're going to hold a ball in front. A hugely important transitional movement in Tai Chi is holding the ball. We don't want that ball too far out. We don't want that ball too close to the chest. We don't want it too close in. We want it so that we've got about 15 centimeters, the ball away from the chest. We don't want it too high. We want that top hand below the chin. We don't want it too low. We want that bottom hand above the belly button. And so what you do is you find yourself somewhere there. And then we're going to turn that ball over. And the last thing to remember is we want to try with that top hand to keep that elbow below the wrist. In Tai Chi, that's called sinking the elbow. Okay. So we'll put that real ball down and we will imagine that we have our ball. And let's turn that over nice and slowly. So we'll just swap the top hand for the bottom hand, sink that elbow, and we'll go again. Top hand, bottom hand. And again. Sink that elbow. And turn that ball over. Okay, left and right, doesn't matter. What matters is top and bottom. So we're going to bring that bottom hand up, okay? And we're going to bring it up in front of our top hand. And we're going to be looking into our palm as that hand comes up. Then we're going to turn that palm that we're bringing up towards the ceiling, or the best that we can do in our 70%. And we're going to push the other hand down to about the hip. And so we're going to push up and we're going to push down at the same time. And the idea is to lengthen and straighten the spine. So we're trying not to lock those knees out, keep them nice and soft. And then we're going to bring it back to ball. And we should have the other hand on top now. So it should have reversed sides. And we're just going to bring that bottom hand up again. up towards the ceiling, push down and up at the same time. That top hand should always have a bent elbow. We're not trying to stretch those muscles. We're trying to lengthen and put space in the spine. So nice song space in that elbow and in that shoulder of that top hand, and even in the wrists and the fingers. We don't want any stress in those muscles. We're just making a little space in those ribs, lengthening, straightening the spine, up and down. So we bring that top hand down, bring that bottom hand up, form up that ball, bring the top hand down, bottom hand up and down. There's a beautiful rhythm to this, but it can take a couple of sessions to find. Might find a little tug as we don't lock out those knees at the top, just below the belly button. If you can feel that, well, that's your dantian. And that's where all our movement will come from, the better we get at Tai Chi. The more we improve, the more that area just below the belly button becomes our focus of movement. Let's do one more. Up and down. Lengthen that spine and bring it back to ball. Okay. So holding that ball in front, we are going to move in the direction of the top elbow. But what I want you to do is keep everything below the belly button facing forward. So we're trying to keep the hips square on where they are in front now. And we're just going to move that ball, just trying to move the top part of the body and keep the hips pretty much where they are. As soon as that hip wants to turn in, we're going to stop. Turn that ball over. So we've got the other hand on top now. We're going to sink that elbow and we're going to go in the direction of the new top elbow. And come round. So it's not how far we go with these movements, it's how far we go while keeping good form. Turn that ball and back the other way. Get to our 70%, we're going to turn that ball over, sink that elbow and come back the other way. Turn that ball, sink that elbow. Back the other way. Again, range of movement might improve a little bit each time. If we're new to it, really don't push this one because the spine takes time to free up and move around. It really isn't trying to get round as far as we can. It's about moving the shoulders and the top of that body to get this movement. If you watch my arms really closely, my arms are moving around, but they're not actually moving. The ball stays exactly where it is, and the shoulders stay where they are, and it's actually the body that's moving. But we don't want any vertebrae out of place, so make sure the movements stay small and manageable. So we'll get to our 70%. Then what I would like you to do is pull that bottom hand out across the body. And so both palms are now facing to the floor. And we're going to drop those palms down slowly until they touch the thighs. And then we're going to take those deep, beautiful breaths. 70% in, and push that air out. And in, and out. And in, and out. Shake it out. Excuse me. Just clear my throat a little bit of moisture, just a little bit of water for me. Make sure that those legs are freed up because that's where we're moving to now. We're going to move down into a couple of movements that are going to help open up and free up the hips. So these movements can be modified. We can just lift a heel like that, or we can just lift toes like that. We can take much smaller steps than I'm going to take. We can take a heel and a toe and an out like that. Whatever it takes to get you through, whatever you feel comfortable with. If you want to get the foot movement stuff right and you want to use the chair, this is how I came to Tai Chi when I first started doing it, because I had a really serious motorcycle accident, and Tai Chi really helped me in my rehabilitation from that. So I used the back of the chair a lot when I first started. Whatever gets you through. And I'm going to give you a little demonstration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift those hands up to shoulder height as we've been doing since we started. We're going to push those hands down And we're going to go past the hips this time, and we're going to push those hands out as a counterbalance out behind us. We're going to move weight to one side, and then we're going to step to heel on the other. Then we're going to bring the hands to the center and the toes on the toes there. And then we're going to lift those hands up to shoulder height again, palms facing to the floor, and we're going to have that foot come out behind. So we're using the hands as counterbalance all the time. Then we're going to plant that foot in the center. We're going to shift that weight onto the foot we just used. And then we're going to use the opposite foot, heel, center step, and out toes. We're going to move from side to side as we do this. Modify it as you need to. Take smaller or bigger steps depending on how long you've been training with me, how confident you are with your balance. Make it your own. Your 70% is your 70%. So let's lift those hands up to shoulder height. Let's drop those hands down, move to one side, left or right, doesn't matter. Heel, center step, and out toes. Plant the foot we just used, shift that weight across, heel, center step, and out toes. Plant that foot. So feel your way, heel, center step if we need it, out toes. Plant that foot, shift that weight, heel, center step if we need it, out toes. Plant that foot. Now, if you've been training with me for a while, or you just feel like you've got balance down, we can miss that center step out if we want to. If you need that center step as part of your 70%, that's fine. So we'll go heel, center step if we need it, and out to toes. Plant that foot. So if that didn't go so well, let's put that center step back in. Center step, out to toes. Plant that foot, shift that way. Heel, center step if we need it, or all in one go if we're really feeling good. Plant that foot, bring those hands to center, drop those hands down, touch thighs. Let's take those 3 beautiful breaths and get that oxygen in, and then push the old air out to replenish it with new, and out. And one more, and out. Shake it. Okay, that's the first hip exercise. We're going to go on to the second hip exercise now. So we are going to pick up our arms and we're going to push to one side, almost like we're pushing against a wall. So we've got our top arm. This is my left arm. So my left arm is out and my palm is facing away from me and pushing out. The forearm is parallel to the ground. The other hand is coming up with the fingers facing up to the ceiling and around that bend in the elbow there, which is called your anticubal fossa, but we'll just call it the elbow crease. And that looks a lot like that. Okay, now if we have any shoulder issues, we have any problems with that shoulder, then we can go from anywhere from just pushing a little bit to the side like that, up to that pushing against the wall, and then we're going to move across and set up the other side. So if you don't want to get that elbow and that shoulder up too high, anywhere between that and up and across like that. The main thing that we want to remember is we want to try and keep the whole of the body facing forward as we do this. So what we don't want to do is push out too far, because as a demonstration, the further we push, watch my hip, the more the body goes side on and that hip wants to turn in. The only way we can facilitate that level of movement is to turn that hip in. And what we want is that hip to stay square on, facing in front and push out to the side. So you only really push out to the ribs. Don't push out a lot further than that, and that will help us keep our hips square on, which is what we want to do. Now, the next thing we want to remember, if we're seated, it's going to be a lot easier to go to heel. If we don't like picking up the foot from seated like that, then we'll just bend a leg out like that, and we'll just push down gently on that foot, allowing that leg to come out. And as we come to the other side, we'll push out, come back in and push out. Okay, so heels if we're seated, toes if we're standing. Left or right, doesn't matter, whichever is easiest to follow. And we're going to build up to our wall, we're going to push, and we're going to step opposite. Plant that foot, pitch those hands across, set them up, and push. Try and keep those hips facing forwards. Try not to look at the hands as we step. Step back in, pitch those hands across, and push. Pitch across and push. Step in, pitch across, push. Pitch across, set those hands up, make sure that hip is not being pushed across. And push. Let's do one more each side. So we'll pitch those hands, that movement's called pitching, and push. Last one, step in, move that weight across, step out. So we're putting that foot in and then we bring both hands down, palms facing to the floor, in front. Drop those hands down to the thighs, touch thighs, and let's take 3 breaths. In and out. Nice deep breaths to the belly button. I know it's unfashionable, but we're trying to make a big belly there. Push that air out. One more. And out. And shake it. Move it around. Get those ankles moving. Maybe open a hip. We've just done those hips. So let's open those up a little bit. We're going to move down to the knees now. And we're going to do a little bit of punching. So I'm going to take my index finger like that. I'm going to get my hand over my index finger, and then I want you to pull the index finger out like a cork, and then look through the hand, and hopefully you've got a little bit of space there where the fingers are. That's the song space of the hand. Then we're going to get our thumbs wherever they're comfortable on those fists. So mine sit like that. Maybe yours sit a little bit up there, whatever way. And we want those fists with the knuckles facing down to the floor, and we're going to bring them to the hips. Now, if you're seated, I don't know if you're like me, but I'm a little middle-aged and I can't really find my hips when I sit down these days. So we'll just rest them on the thighs, but it's sort of knuckles down. And then what we do, we're going to pick up a hand, and we're going to punch forwards, and we're going to turn the knuckles of the fist so that the knuckles are now facing to the ceiling. Now we want to try and keep that elbow soft, and we don't want to throw that shoulder as that punch comes in and back. So if I do a little side on, let me show you. We pick it up and we punch, and we keep that elbow soft, and we keep that shoulder soft. Again, we're making song space as we punch. So let's do one each side, just practice. So we punch and we come back. Maybe a little bend in the knees as we come back. And we'll straighten as we punch, but not locking out those knees. And punch and back. So left and right doesn't really matter, whatever's easiest to follow, but I'm going to move my weight to the punching side. I'm going to punch, and then I'm going to step opposite. Again, toes if I'm standing, heels will be a lot easier if you're seated, or we can just do that knee movement if we don't want to make that step forward. Punch and step on the opposite side. So that's the rule. Whichever side we're punching, take that way, punch out and step opposite. It's always the opposite toe to where we're punching. Punch and step. We'll do one more each side, and then we're just going to take it to another level. Punch and step. Across, punch and step. Now just make a little mental note of where your 70% is and how well that's going. If you want it to another difficulty, we're going to punch and step, and then we're going to lift those toes. If we lose our balance, drop the heel, and we will regain our balance. Shift that weight smoothly across, punch and step, lift those toes and drop that heel if we need that weight. Punch and step and lift those toes. Shift that weight across, punch and step and lift those toes. Let's do one more each side. Punch and step, lift those toes. Remember your heel if you lose your balance. One more. Punch and step and lift those toes. Bring that foot back, bring that fist back. Lift those hands to the chest and then just gently open them. You should feel a beautiful temperature difference. Drop those hands down to the thighs and let's have a little shake out. And just move that about and get those ankles moving, get those knees moving, because those knees have just done us a little favor, haven't they? So if we are seated, the next movement doesn't translate to seated. So what we're going to do is we're going to stay where we are, and maybe we'll try lifting a knee. Maybe we can kick through to heel, or maybe we can kick through to toe, or maybe we'll just keep it as it was. Or the other way, obviously, is that we just, in the punching side, we're just going to push down on that foot and just open that knee and just keep the exercise going. It's okay to just continue the training like that. If we're standing, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to do a bow stance with opposite punch. So a little demonstration of where we're going to go with this. We're going to start in exactly the same place with our fists roughly around our hips, making sure that they're nice and strong. And we've got those little spaces in our fingers. And we're going to move weight onto one side. And we're going to step to heel. And then we're going to plant that foot with the toes at 12 o'clock. We're going to shift the weight forward on the hips, staying upright. And we want to look down over that knee and make sure we can just see the outline of our toes. That's where we want to go. And then we're going to punch. Then we're going to move that weight onto the back foot, lift up those toes and step in. Then we're going to shift that weight across and go the other side. Heel, toe, weight forward, punch. Now, as we come back, if we go up onto that heel and we need to push weight forward so that we can push that heel in, take a smaller step. If when we punch through like that, then that heel wants to lift up behind us on the back there, again, we can take a smaller step, or we can practice lowering our chi, sinking our chi down, because those back heels can be a bit naughty and it can take a little bit of training, but we really want to keep that back heel on the floor. So smaller steps will sink that chi. So if we're seated, make sure that we've got that core engaged and have a little play around, see which one you like the most. If we are standing, we are going to bring those fists in to the hips. We're going to shift that weight left and right, doesn't matter, whatever's easiest to follow. Heel, toe at 12 o'clock. Shift that weight forward on the hips, not too far, and then punch and keep that elbow soft. Come back, pick up those toes, step in, smoothly shift that weight across. Heel, toe, weight forward, punch. Excellent work. Shift across. Heel, toe, weight forward, punch. Check those fists. Make sure they're not clamping up. Heel, toe, weight forward, punch. And back. Shift across. Heel, toe, weight forward, punch. And last one for today. Shift that weight across. Heel, toe, weight forward, punch. And back. Plant that foot. Let's bring those fists up, opening them up. Feel those fingers and the temperature difference. Drop those hands down. Touch thighs. 3 deep breaths in and out. In and out. In and out. Shake it out. Move it around. So that is neck, shoulders, spine and ribs, hips, knees. Now we're going to do ankles. After everything I've said about left and right, I want you to put your right hand out. Okay? So it's your right hand palm down to the floor, out in front of the chest. Left hand on top. Then we're going to take the heel of that bottom right hand and put that in the belly button. Then we're going to choose a leg, whichever leg, it doesn't matter. And we're going to put the weight on one, and we're going to come to heel on the other. And we're going to try and pull the toes up to the one we have on heel, up towards the knee, without bending the toes towards the knee. And we're going to go to toes. So we're going to go heel and toe, heel toe, heel, toe. Plant that foot, shift that weight. Heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. Plant that foot, shift that weight. And we're going to go to the other side now. And little toe, big toe, outside, inside, outside and inside. Shift across. Last one's little toe, outside, big toe, inside, outside, inside, outside and inside. Plant that foot, open those hands. Let's have a little shake out and we'll have a little cool down. And that's the set for today. So we've done every part of the body. Now we're just going to cool it all down. So we're going to make up those beautiful Tai Chi fists again. And we're going to see where our mobility is. If we have great mobility and balance, and we can just lift a knee and tap the back of that knee, bring the fist down with the little fingers onto the back of the knees. That's great. Give them a tap. If we don't have that level of mobility and we can just get those feet up, fair enough. Even if we can't lift the feet, we'll just tap the top of the thighs. Let's do one more each side. There's one and there's one. We're going to soften those knees. We're going to breathe in and make those lovely fists up. And then we want to get all that breath out as quickly as possible. Straighten fingers down to the ground. So in and out. One more. And out. Open those hands under the belly button. Gather up. Let that rain fall down. And we'll do a couple more of these. Gathering up. Letting that rain fall down. Thank you everyone for turning up and training with me today. Always my pleasure. And thank you Reclink for making it possible to train together. I'll see you on the next one. Drop those hands down, touch those thighs, move weight onto the right foot, step the left foot in. Right fist is strength, left palm is respect. We are strong, we respect each other, we put them together because we practice together. We bow. See you on the next one. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Phil. Have a great day.
Yes, see ya.
Thanks, Phil. How are you, Ran?
Good, Irene. How are you?
Good, thank you. We're back to winter. Huh?
I know. It's cruel, isn't it?
I know.
Really cruel.
What's happening to Melbourne? Yeah.
What do you... On Friday, we've got a run, walk, roll at the Botanical Gardens.
Oh, okay.
If you're interested, if you're around.
Yeah.
I'll share the link with you if you like.
Okay.
Yeah, so just from 10:30 meet up, and 11 o'clock we do a lap, and then after that we have a barbecue.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So are we allowed to bring a family?
Yeah, you can bring anyone you like.
Oh, okay.
It's open to everyone. We'll have a coffee van there. Sometimes we do some...
I'm not sure though, because my daughter can have a baby anytime now.
Oh, really?
Due for a baby, yeah. Yeah, so we're just waiting patiently.
Yeah, so
it can happen actually, before that.
Is it actually due any time, is it?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so we're just waiting. That's why I got to miss certain classes, yeah.
And does she live nearby to you?
Yes, yes, she does, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, hopefully, if nothing happens, then I can make it, yeah. But anyway, send me the link, yeah. Thanks, Ram. Okay. Take a photo. Have a good day.